So again, I'm G.A. Bartick, and think about it today. I have a whole notebook full of things I need to do differently tomorrow. But would you agree change is hard? Do we usually do what's best for us, or do we usually do what's most comfortable for us? But do me a favor, if you would, really quickly. Just take your arms, just cross your arms. Somebody cross your arms real quick if you would, be so kind. Now take a look. Are you right hand over left or left hand over right? I got my left over my right. Now go ahead and just switch it. And how does that feel? So what do most people immediately do? They go right back to the way they were. But think about it too. I mean, we all know that a diet filled with lots of leafy green vegetables, a little bit of protein, not too much sugar, cakes, chocolate. We all know it's the right thing to do. Would you agree? You know, you get plenty of exercise, drink lots of clear liquids. That's not vodka or gin. But how many of you recently, knowingly, joyfully, gleefully have ingested stuff we know is not good for us? Now we cannot wait to do it again at 5 o'clock. The thing is, though, I mean, folks, as you can tell, my whole philosophy is no pain. No pain. And do you know why? Do you guys know why I don't lift weights? They're heavy, absolutely. The thing is, though, folks, change is hard. But we're talking a little bit about change and how can you help your organization be even more effective. So I started my sales career at Nordstrom, and I'm happy to say that as the ladies' shoe buyer in 1985 was the first ladies' shoe department in Horton Plaza to bring in UGG boots into the ladies' shoe department. All right? But when I first started selling ladies' shoes at Fashion Valley down here, I wasn't very good at sales. So I fortunately did what a lot of salespeople who are not very good at sales do. I quickly got myself into management. And I spent 11 years as a manager. I ran all of San Diego. And I left my career at Nordstrom thinking, I'm going to go out and make myself a name selling real estate. So I went to Del Mar. I got my Association of Realtors purchase contract down. I knew it inside and out. I got my license. I'm there 11 months. It's the last day of the month. And my boss, Joe Jelly, calls me up and says, hey, GA, can I talk to you real quick? I go down to his office. I'm like, what's going on, Mr. Jelly? He goes, you know what, GA? I love your enthusiasm. I love your work ethic. But I've been looking at the sales results. You only sold one house in the last 11 months. I'm sorry, GA, it's just not working. I turns around and he hands me a cardboard box. So I'm like, okay, no worries. I got a job selling eyewear. I thought this will be great. I'll be talking to ophthalmologists, opticians, optometrists. They will buy from me because do you know what I have? I have the gift of what? If you look at the little sheet, that is my initials. So I do have the gift of gab. And I thought they would buy from me. I'm there 8 months. And my sales manager calls me up and says, hey, GA, can you come down to my office real quick? I'm like, sure, what's up? He goes, you know what, GA? I love your enthusiasm. I love your work ethic. But you know what? I've been looking at the sales results, and I'm sorry, it's just not working out. Turns around, you know what he handed me? Cardboard box. So I said, hey, no worries. I started selling corporate annual photography. I thought this will be great. I have the gift of, they will be buying from me, and I'm there 13 months. I just got married, had a baby, and my wife was really excited. I made it over that year with a job. And it was December 2nd, true story. My boss came to me, sat me down and says, you know what, GA? I love your enthusiasm. I love your, but I'm sorry, I've been looking at the sales results. It's just not working out. He hands me a, now, let me ask you this. Did any of you ever growing up, any of you ever have a paper route growing up? How old were you guys when you had paper routes? 13, 11. All right, I was 28 years old. Jerry, they're laughing at me. True story. This is my life here. 28 years old, I had to go out and get a paper route. True story. I'd wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I'd go out to 137 Wall Street journals throughout Escondido and Rancho Penasquitos. I would get back about 6:15. My wife had handed us our daughter, Alicia. She would go off to be a high school chemistry teacher, and I was drop my daughter off at grandma's house, and I would go out and be a mortgage broker. But I was a broke broker because I had no process. I was simply winging it. But what I started learning, though, a little bit is about how a process can help. And I started watching, observing top salespeople. And I got together with my brother, Paul, and he's a researcher. I went to Columbia as a researcher. We started researching what do top salespeople do, and realized that they don't wing it. They almost always have a process in place. And they take the variable of the customer, put it into their process, and they hopefully come up with a predictable conclusion, in which in most cases is a sale. So we kind of explain what I mean by this process here. You guys all see what this is right here? Little 3x5 index card. Would you all agree that it is smaller than my head? Would you agree? So it'd be pretty hard to put a hole in it large enough to put my head through. True? But if you have the right process in place where you can execute those fundamentals quickly, efficiently, and effectively, but more important, do it under pressure when you have 80 people watching you so that you can hopefully come up with a predictable conclusion. And in this case, what is my predictable conclusion? A 3x5 card with a hole in it large enough to put my head through. This is where y'all go, ooh, ah. But how was I able to do this? I took practice. I had a plan and I had a process to do it. And that's what it's all about. But here's the thing too. It took a lot of practice. How come? Because here's the thing though. As a speaker, and most of your people out there, I work and live in communication. What is your frontline employee saying to your customer to create a unique and different, but more importantly, at the end of the day, a positive buying experience? I think people hate to be sold. But as I started doing this research, my brother and I ended up developing a book called Silver Bullet Selling. 6 critical steps to opening up more relationships and closing more sales, because it's all about the relationship. And I was glad to see today we're talking about, hey, companies are moving towards that customer experience. And I think there was a swing a couple of years back to automate the entire process, push everybody online. I think that has hurt a lot of organizations. So now what are people saying? How are they saying it? But also, what are your managers saying to your employees to help them get better on their very, very next interaction? So that's kind of where we live. And so the founder of the company I'm now president of in 96, founded the company in 98. He got a big project. He said, hey, GA, I know that he'd been kind of coaching me on my sales and started teaching me a little bit of the process of mortgage banking. He said, you know what? Hey, I know you wanted to be a game show host, but you know what? I got this speaking gig you might be a little bit decent at. Why don't you come check it out? So I was there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning. I have a big presentation in front of like 30 professional speakers to try to earn my way onto this team. I'm there early, and Mike says, GA, can I talk to you real quick? I'm like, oh. Victor, we all know how this ends, don't we? But he said, GA, if you got a little bit of skill, if you really want to practice this and really work at it, we'll put you on part of the team. So I worked part-time from 98 to 2000. 2000, he said, hey, come full-time. So I started full-time as an associate consultant, then became a consultant, senior consultant, VP partner. About 7 years ago, he retired and I became president. The only reason I bring that up is most of the time you go to sales trainings like this, the salesperson is up there in front beating their chest saying, hey, I'm a great salesperson, be more like me. I've simply cased from the top salespeople. Case, copy and steal everything. You can case that if you like and take it to your own organization. Copy and steal everything. That's what it's all about. But here's the thing though, about practice. Now, as a speaker, I was thinking about this morning, and all day long I've been rehearsing in my mind what I'm going to say, and folks, in my mind, it was beautiful. You laughed at all the right times and everything. But if something ever happened with what you think you're going to say, what you actually say, sometimes two totally different things. So a big part of what we work on is creating verbal mastery. And I think most organizations dramatically underestimate the amount of time it takes to create verbal mastery by about 100-fold. Your people, you'll sit down with an associate, you'll talk about what you want them to say, or they'll talk about, hey, here's what I would say in this sales call, this customer experience. But you actually have them say it and practice it. So I guarantee you, if they practice it in front of you, they'll be much more effective under pressure when they're in front of a client or a prospect. But really thinking about leading leaders, success doesn't come to you, you've got to go out and get it. And that's one thing I learned, is that you have to make your team go out and get it also, and make them a little bit hungry for what they do. But it also comes down to what we believe is our whole coaching philosophy. It's called coaching forward. And there's a couple of rules to coaching forward, but think about coaching forward is if I'm going to go on, Bob and I are going on a sales call, right, Bob? Okay, he's a salesperson, I'm the manager. A lot of times we'll get in the car and we'll talk a little about the sales call. We get to the sales call, and what's the first question the sales manager asks Bob at the end of the call in the car? What's the first question most sales managers ask Bob about how that call just went? What do they usually ask? How'd the call go? And Bob says? Great. Absolutely, that's what they all say, right? And I say as his manager, I thought went pretty well too. But how come, Bob, you didn't bring up any of the new products we've been talking about? We got no new Solitude products that we need to distribute with these builders. How come you didn't bring any of those up? And Bob says, I forgot. Or he says, you know what, GA, you don't know that client. They would never buy that. They're old school. He comes up with 37 reasons why he did or did not do something. Coaching forward is, let's coach Bob before the call to get him ready to communicate effectively about our new product and services before the call. And then after the call, I'm going to coach forward to how to get him better on the very, very next call. So if he didn't offer the new product, my first question is, hey, what do you think you did well? What can we do even better on the next call? Hey, one of the things I'm working with the entire team, Bob, not just you, is we got to get our new product out there. Let's talk about how to communicate this on the next sales call about the new product. Bob, get excited about the new product and about the next call versus getting defensive about the last call. So that's a little bit about coaching forward, but the two rules are, number one, quit coaching to the past and start affecting the future. So that's what I was doing right there. I was coaching to the past. Why did you do this, Bob? Why not? And Bob gets defensive. Start coaching to the future, though, means I'm going to coach before the call and I'm going to coach after the call towards the next call. Rule number one, quit analyzing the past, start affecting the future. The next thing is rule number two, get people to do more things right, not fewer things wrong. So my daughter Carly was playing soccer. She was playing left defense. And the entire first half of the game, her coach Shawnee is screaming up and down, running up and down the sides, girls, stop kicking the ball to the middle, quit kicking the ball to the middle. And word of the girls keep kicking the ball too. So the ref blows the whistle. I'm like, Carly, get over here. I'm like, Carly, are you not listening to the ref? And she's like, well, yeah, Dad. I'm like, well, to the coach, well, what's she saying? She says, well, she keeps yelling at us, Dad, quit kicking the ball to the middle. Why do you keep doing that? And she looks up at me with her 9-year-old little eyes and she says, Dad, where should I kick the ball to? So I'm like, Shawnee, get over here, Shawnee. I'm like, Shawnee, you keep screaming at the girls, stop kicking the ball to the middle. And she's like, I know, and they keep doing that. Well, where do you want them to kick the ball to? She goes, I want to kick the ball to the sideline. Then tell them that. How often do people coach people to do more things right versus fewer things wrong? Or do most coaches coach how? I was just doing an event with Google last week. 165 of their top world leaders. And the head of YouTube, when I talked about this, stood up in front of everybody and said, you know what? Gee, you described me to a T. I always coach to the past, and I always tell people, don't do this, don't do that. So think about tomorrow. What can you do to help people move forward on the next interaction? How can you help them practice and be successful in how they want to do it? And then how can you get people to do more things right, not fewer things wrong? And so finally, it's all about making sure that you create success on purpose. So do me a favor if you would. Everybody please raise your right index finger in the air. Everybody raise your right index finger in the air. When I say go, you will be pointing at your table's leader. Ready? Go. All right, table leaders. Table leaders, I need you to stand up if you would. Table leaders, please stand up. Table leaders, please stand up. All right, count the people at your table. Count how many people you have at your table. And if you would, walk to the back of the room, right around that little barrier right there is a stack of books. I have a copy of my book for everybody here, so please go get a copy of the book for everybody. All right, while they're doing that, I will leave you with one last thought. Have any of you ever heard of Niccolo Paganini? Niccolo Paganini was a world-class violinist. He was a rock star in the early 1900s. I mean, he was like Bono and Sting all put together, rolled up into one. And he was so technically advanced that he would write orchestras that nobody else could play. And he was a rock star. True story. There he is one night, sold out crowd. Place is going wild. He says, second to last song, and as he's playing the violin, all of a sudden, plink, the first string breaks. But Niccolo doesn't miss a beat. He starts playing that violin a little bit faster, up and down the fret in the neck of that violin. And all of a sudden, once you know, all of a sudden, blink, the second string breaks. And the conductor sees this, and he stops the music. And Niccolo steps off the podium. He's walking over. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they actually had roadies then. The roadies come up with another violin, and the crowd's going wild. And something that came over Niccolo that night, and he stopped the roadie, and he took his violin, he walked back over to the podium, he stood back up on it, he motioned over to the conductor, and he played the rest of that song in just the two strings. Final song, he's playing on just those two strings. He's going up and down. All of a sudden, once you know it, plink, the third string breaks. And again, the conductor stops the music. Niccolo steps down, being defeated, walking over to his other violin. And again, the crowd's going wild. They love what they've been hearing from him off his two-string violin. But they know even not the great Paganini can play off just one string. But again, something kind of swelled up in Niccolo. He stopped the roadie, took his violin, shook it to the heavens as to say, not tonight, no you don't. He walked back over, stepped up on the podium, he motioned to the conductor, please begin. He played that last song and two more encores on just that last string. Well, think tomorrow, when you go back to your office, you get in there, say 8 a.m., what happens usually around 9:45, 9:48? What usually happens? I didn't hear that aloud, but what was that? That first string breaks, doesn't it? But do you stop what you're doing? No, you keep going. Somewhere right around 11:52, all of a sudden, what happens, folks? That second string breaks. Again, do you stop your work? About 3:10, it happens every day, doesn't it? Plink, that third string breaks. But does the fourth string ever break? What we got to help your team do is make sure that they execute the fundamentals effectively, efficiently, and on purpose, under pressure, when they only have one string left. And that's the top organizations. When they can do that and do that well, that's what catapults them to new heights. I want to say on behalf of myself, again, Brian, Jerry, Chuck, everybody putting this together, thank you very much. The only thing between me and cocktails
is one final sponsor.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jerry.